talking horses now with our extension equine specialist, Kris Hiney. And Kris, a topic that's not often discussed with horse owners, but something they need to be concerned with is weight in their horses.
Yeah, so most owners always think about, a thin horse is something that we recognize pretty readily and something we don't want as sort of a welfare concern. But obese horses or fat horses actually can be as big of a problem, and a lot of horse owners let that creep up on them without actually realizing it's a big problem.
So what are some problems that can occur with an obese horse?
So for a normal, kind of healthy obese horse, it's going to be a lot harder for them to thermoregulate or keep themselves cool. So if you're exercising them, it's going to be really hard on them. And if they're overweight, that's a lot of wear and tear on their joints. And so you can really decrease the longevity of how long that horse is useful, even with a normal, healthy, overweight horse. However, we have another category of horses. As they get obese, it almost is like type 2 diabetes in people. They get what we call equine metabolic syndrome or insulin dysregulation. For these obese horses, this time of year with all of this lush spring grass can be a really big problem for them and can be really harmful for them.
Why is that?
So essentially, the sugar content of spring grass is a lot higher. And so what happens is these horses develop what we call hyperinsulinemia, where essentially when they're eating that grass, the insulin goes up in their bloodstream. And we know insulin can have effects on the horse's feet and can cause some really painful conditions, essentially laminitis in the horse.
Well, in regards to like when this typically occurs, is this something you see for both conditions, just overweight and for that hypermetabolic situation?
Yeah, definitely. So like right now when the grass is really, really lush and growing fast, it has a lot of calories in it. And so even what we call our normal healthy horse can gain weight pretty rapidly this time of year if they're left to eat as much as they want. And so they'll gain weight more quickly. But again, for these horses that have this other issue, this can be an extremely sensitive time of year for them and create a lot of painful feet.
And is this something that you typically see with older horses, or can it occur within, those horses around the 2 to 3 year age?
Typically, no, we don't see it in a younger horse. This is kind of more of a middle-aged horse issue. So when your horses are past 10 into their early teens, that's when we typically start to see more of this metabolic issue. But if you really had a horse that was really susceptible, it's possible you could see it a little earlier, but typically it's a little bit later in life.
Well, now shifting to management, first off, let's talk about some things that they can, horse owners can do to, monitor the situation before it gets out of control. And then secondly, what can they do to, fix that if they are in that situation?
Sure. So, taking weight off of horses can be a challenge, I'm not gonna lie. So certainly, again, this time of year, what we'd wanna do is limit the amount of time that they're out on pasture, because pasture has so much extra calories, okay? So great to put weight on a horse, but again, we have to monitor and not let them overdo it. So if we're trying to limit them, we're going to try to limit the time they're grazing, put them in dry lots. Some people will use grazing muzzles on them so that the horse can only take little bites of food at a time to really reduce the amount of intake they have. However, I will say horses, and ponies especially, when you turn them out on grass and they know that you're going to take them back in right away, they simply eat faster. So you do have to kind of account for their behavior. And again, they're going to do everything they can to actually try to get some of this yummy good grass.
Does exercise play a role in that as well?
Absolutely. So our current horses are often under-exercised and overfed. And so if we're working with our horses and using them on a regular basis, then it's not as big of an issue because we're going to keep them a little bit leaner. But again, sedentary lifestyle and unlimited buffet, kind of a problem for them. So if you have an overweight horse, absolutely increase the amount of exercise. That's going to help with them. With some of these other horses we talked about, if their feet are painful, obviously we can't exercise them until they're feeling a little better.
All righty, thanks, Kris. If you'd like some information that Kris talked about, go to our website, sunup.okstate.edu.